additional appeal to demagogues using mass media, through which populist leaders thrived. Their pronouncements on easy fixes to economic and social problems at home and shifting dangers abroad made them attractive figures to millions of people. In 1959, the journalist Richard Rovere declared, "We have been, by and large, lucky in having few national demagogues, but there is no assurance our luck will hold. For a nation that has known a good deal of mob rule, and that, in its devotion to public liberties, makes mobs quite easily accessible to demagogues, we have had, I think, remarkable good fortune in having had so little trouble." The rise of the penny press, or widely available daily newspapers promoting provocative, scandal-mongering yellow journalism, followed by the introduction of radio, television, and now social media, where tweets can instantly reach millions of Americans, has lent appeal to unscrupulous politicians seeking high office. As the historian Richard Hofstadter explained in 1948, because the ideology of self-help, free enterprise, and beneficent cupidity upon which Americans have been nourished has faded, Americans have become more receptive than ever to dynamic personal leadership as a substitute. The country's attraction during the 1930s Depression to Louisiana's Huey Long, whom Franklin Roosevelt called one of the two most dangerous men in America, along with General Douglas MacArthur, and the subsequent affinity for Wisconsin Senator Joseph McCarthy's anti-communist crusade that recklessly victimized innocent Americans, gave Rovere reason to think that our luck was running out. The resistance to putting a demagogue in the White House held up during the anti-communist agitation of the 1950s and the Vietnam War in the 1960s. But Vietnam opened the way to Richard Nixon's election in 1968, and Watergate once again tested the viability of our democratic institutions and the rule of law. Nixon's resignation in August 1974 moved Vice President Gerald Ford, his successor, to declare, "My fellow Americans, our long national nightmare is over." But was it? Donald Trump's 2016 election to the White House has presented a new challenge to our system of government. His lying about a host of things, over 10,000 lies according to the Washington Post, has undermined his credibility and further weakened public faith in government, or more precisely, the way we govern ourselves. We are now in the fourth year of the Trump presidency, and in the midst of another, perhaps more formidable challenge to traditional Republican institutions. And while it is still too soon to tell how this part of the story will turn out, or what the full impact of his administration will be on the American system of government at home and its relations with allies and adversaries abroad, it is already clear that this is not a conventional administration with a traditional chief executive mindful of constructive presidential actions or respectful of the rule of law and the men and women who enforce it. As 27 mental health experts argued in The Dangerous Case of Donald Trump, he is a deeply insecure man who needs to counter his sense of limits with a grandiosity that alleges his superiority in wealth and accomplishment to everyone. It is a troubling assertion of a false reality that threatens the national well-being. What, in our past politics and presidential administrations, opened the way to this current assault on American democracy? And more important, what in our earlier history allowed us to create a reasonably well-functioning system of governance that echoed Franklin Roosevelt's assertion, "Better the occasional faults of a government that lives in a spirit of charity than the consistent omissions of a government frozen in the ice of its own indifference." It is the Theodore Roosevelt, Woodrow Wilson, Franklin Roosevelt, Harry Truman, Dwight Eisenhower, John Kennedy, Lyndon Johnson, Richard Nixon, Jimmy Carter, and Ronald Reagan presidencies discussed in this book that have advanced both the national well-being and the term.